So on my last God of War video, many people had many differing opinions on the topic of Zeus versus Balder, but one thing that I kept seeing in the comments was on who would win between the two kings of their respective pantheons, Zeus and Odin, the king of the Olympians versus the All-Father of Asgard. These two have been compared to by a lot of people, both in verse and in real life, and this matchup has a lot of different grounds to cover that I feel should be addressed. So in today's video, I will be going over Zeus versus Odin in as much detail as I can and give a satisfying explanation on who I think would win and why. But before the video starts, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and turn on notifications so you'll always stay up to date with my videos. And with that being said, let's get into the scaling. So how strong is Zeus really? Well, he's considered to still be the strongest enemy Kratos has ever faced after the events of God of War 2018. This statement comes from the God of War board game, which takes place during Fimbulwinter, and is stated to be canon. This would put Zeus above all the enemies Kratos fought in God of War 4, which would include Sigrun, who's stated to be the strongest Valkyrie and the most lethal opponent Kratos fought in 2018. This would obviously include Balder for the people that think he's stronger than Zeus, and I made a video on this topic if you would like to check it out after this video. There's also a statement on the back of the box for God of War 3 that says Zeus possesses limitless powers, which the definition of that word means without end, limit, or boundary. Zeus also has other statements that relate to his strength, like in the God of War 3 strategy guide. It's stated that after you initiate the first QTE with Zeus in the final battle, he becomes even stronger than he was before, and even during the opening of God of War 3, while climbing Mount Olympus, Gaia also states that Zeus is growing in power even though he isn't actively fighting, and this notion is also supported again with Zeus himself stating that the might of the Olympians grow with the passage of time, showing consistency of him being able to passively grow stronger, especially in the heat of battle. Some people will still believe Zeus can't do this, but we know he can because we see something similar with Kratos. During his fight against the Colossus of Rhodes, after the statue was being imbued with Kratos' godly energy, it was stated in the God of War 2 novel that the Colossus was becoming faster, stronger, and more adept in combat with every passing second, which again is how Olympian godhood is shown to work, and we know that Zeus scales blatantly above Kratos during God of War 2, since in the novel it stated that the power of the Titans was inferior to him, and he had Kratos on the back foot for pretty much the entire battle, and Kratos needed to feign surrendering in order to actually catch Zeus off guard. And this is a Kratos that had multiple different amps, like for example Kronos' Rage and Prometheus' Ashes, and even the Blades of Olympus. Kratos then goes through the events of PlayStation All-Stars, which takes place after the end of God of War 2, but before the start of God of War 3. And we know that Zeus during this time was on Mount Olympus trying to rally all the other gods against Kratos, and when Kratos does show up to fight Zeus at the start of the game, he immediately one-shots this empowered Kratos and sends him back down the mountain. He even scales directly to an end-of-game God of War 3 Kratos, who again got many different amps and power-ups throughout the game, and again Zeus was just not doing anything. Keep in mind, God of War 3 Kratos is pretty much the strongest version of Kratos that we have seen in the series so far, and that's just a base Zeus. When it comes to Fear Zeus, that's a different story. Fear Zeus is stated to be the literal concept of fear in the God of War universe, and Stig Asmussen, the game director for God of War 3, stated that Zeus killed Kratos, leaving only his consciousness remaining, and when Kratos forgave himself and unlocked the full dormant power of hope within him, he was able to bring his soul and life back and revived himself, meaning that Fear Zeus has the ability to exist and erase things, along with being intangible, and all of the other abilities he has access to. Zeus can also nullify magic with his lightning bolts, which we see him do to Kratos at the start of God of War 3. Zeus also has other weapons at his disposal, like the Gauntlet of Zeus, which is stated to be a symbol of strength and might, and is said to be the perfect tool for destruction. Not to mention he was also able to one-shot the Titans during the Great War with the Blade of Olympus. And that's pretty much all of the relevant scaling for Zeus, so now let's go ahead and see how strong Odin is. Right off the bat, we already know that Odin is the overall strongest Aesir god in the Norse saga, and he's blatantly above his son Thor, even though he has his own statements, like being said to be the champion of the Aesir, which is in reference to strength, being said to be the biggest, baddest Aesir of them all, which again is in reference to strength, especially since the Aesir are a race that strive for physical combat, and is even said to be the strongest god in the Norse saga by Della Longfish, who was the lead concept artist for God of War Ragnarok. These are obviously in reference to brute strength, but Odin cliffs Thor badly when it comes to magic, and this is made apparent many times. Odin's magic is stated to be something Kratos isn't used to fighting, and that it's deadlier than any sword, which is impressive since his use and proficiency of magic puts him over any and all sword-based fighters Kratos has fought, which would include Alva, who's said to be the best swordsman Kratos has encountered. Even the patterns on Odin's clothes are there to show his mastery of ancient magic, and in the God of War 4 novelization, it stated that Odin's magic was far more powerful than anything Kratos has experienced. But this is only in reference to Kratos not being able to brute force his way past it, as we know that's the main thing Kratos used to do in the Greek saga. But the main thing that puts Odin above Thor is the fact that he needed to be 3v1'd by Kratos, Atreus, and Freya, while Thor got absolutely bested by Kratos in the 1v1. Odin is also above the likes of Heimdall, who's stated to be his greatest weapon, which could arguably put him in league with Thor as the potential strongest Aesir god, although we know that's not the case. He was also hyped up by many different characters of not being able to be hit, and that he's a foe that is extremely powerful to Kratos. And Odin is above that, and he's even more powerful than the likes of Baldur, both with and without his immortality, as he was stronger than a rusty Kratos, not in his prime by the way, and then was going high diff with an end of God of War 4 Kratos, who again is still not in his prime, that being God of War 3. And that's pretty much all there is to talk about when it comes to scaling Odin. So who would actually win if these two were to fight? I think Zeus slams, and I'll explain why. Zeus cliffs Odin really hard in physical stats, as he's equal to an end of game God of War 3 Kratos, who, as I said before, is the strongest version of Kratos that we have seen, and Zeus can passively grow in power, which is shown to be exponential increases. Zeus can also nullify magic with his thunderbolts, and this also works on people whether they're weaker than or equal to him. And even if Odin were to somehow defeat Zeus, he'd have no way to beat Fear Zeus, as he's an abstract being and can't be interacted with physically without the power of hope, and can also erase you from existence if he is able to grab you. While Odin does have some unique and impressive magic, it hasn't really been shown to be as effective as it should be. People use the statements of it being said to be something Kratos has never encountered before, or is that it's the greatest magic he's ever come across, or anything like that, even though this is specifically in reference to the fact that Kratos has actually never needed to use his brain and wits to get past potent magic before. And I think it's just people are just misinterpreting these type of statements that talk about Odin's magic. I think Odin just gets beat pretty blatantly, and the win should go to Zeus without a question. Thank you all for watching the video, and please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed the video and would like to see more videos from me. Happy New Year everyone, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.
What you must do now is ponder its significance, and then you can return to